All right, everybody, another big week. We got a ton to get through, and I got to try to get through it quick because I got to get back to work. So stick with me. I'm going to rattle through a whole bunch of stuff. Here we go. The big update we have this week is all of the new staff we have coming on board, which we are super excited about. It's really been great to see all the work we did on the front end to do all the templating and all the SOP and all the process that we perfected to be able to bring in new people and see how quickly they're able to pick it up and start putting stuff together. Awesome. We've got great help coming in now to help us on the logistics side and on the supply chain stuff because, man, that is a whole world just in and of itself, and really appreciate the help we've got coming in on that side too. One of the other big updates, we got all of our dealer display boats out, which is amazing. That really, for us, was the big dress rehearsal to start shipping real boats. Now, they were real in every way except for the drives, to be able to be displays for the showroom. And we also had to create wall power supplies so you could power up the kayak and have them running indefinitely on the showroom floor. What it really needed to be for us was the test of the shipping side of things. And we got some great feedback from the dealers. They're all very excited. They've got tons of customers that are really excited about seeing the boats in person. But we also got some great feedback on the shipping. And as expected, we had some damage. There was a few that had scratches in very certain specific places that we're working on, retooling the packaging to be able to better protect in those areas. We also had one that had a bad nav light when it showed up. Not sure how that happened, but we're looking into that. And then we also had one that we shipped it with the lid on the battery box, and the battery box actually got crushed and they shattered the lid for the box. So now we're going back, we're looking at overall at the packing structure of how we can protect those areas that got damaged better. And how do we need to repack things so that if they do take and double stack, that it's not going to break your box on you, that type of thing. Nothing catastrophic. Everything was very fixable, but these things will help us prevent shipping a whole bunch of boats and having those same similar problems when they get shipped out to you. Some of the other great feedback we got from them was regarding how to put the thing together. Now, it's easy to forget when you work on this all day, every day, and it consumes your entire life. Simple things like how to put the seat together are like breathing for us, but when you don't do it every day, it might take a little more instruction. They gave us some great feedback on individual points that weren't immediately obvious. So we're going through right now and working on quick start guides for those things and videos that'll show you exactly how to unpack everything. It'll show you exactly how the seat goes together, the easiest way to do X, Y, and Z. And we're also making some great progress on our instruction manual as well. All great news. Those are really key things that have to happen to be able to get these out the door. All right, so component update. Guess what? The bushing that we were struggling with a week ago, we were able to get it. So these were very expensive, but we got them CNC'd and got these rushed in. The motor cans, however, we weren't as fortunate. Those are on order, but with the Chinese New Year going on right now, they're delayed. As soon as we get an update on the delivery date on the updated cans, we'll have an updated delivery date on when we can start shipping. In the meantime, we've modified the cans that we have on site, and we're using those in all of the test production units that we're running now. So yeah, we've got everything here. I mean, we're still trying to get these tolerances just right to be able to get this absolutely finalized, but we are now assembling full. You can see that beauty is absolutely complete. That is every bit injection molded, fully tooled, ready for production. Other than just getting this can to fit right, it's always something. So the other one that we talked about was a very critical return shipment that because of duties and nonsense ended up getting sent back to Hong Kong. Very frustrating. We were trying to sort of the customs, they were supposed to hold it and they just returned it on us. Well, we were just barely able to get that shipment turned around within a couple hours of China shutting down for the new year, and we were able to get this. Our third generation drive controller. Yes, I know we haven't shipped the product yet and we were already on the third generation. That's just kind of how we do things. But there's a reason for it. We want everything to be as simple as possible to service, maintain, and replace. So what you'll see here is that you pull these 4 screws out, and this isn't a plate at all. It's actually a fully self-contained drive control unit. And you see all the waterproof connectors here. They're all polarized. They just plug straight in. They can only go one way. You connect these up. They're all IP67 waterproof, and you're good to go. But if you ever have any trouble with any of the modules on your kayak, like this one, you just unscrew this. You can swap that whole unit out. Same thing with the drive controller. If there's any issue with your drive controller, you can just disconnect the cables, swap this guy out, we can test it. If there's an issue, we can replace it very easily. Same thing with the whole drive unit. 4 screws, that whole unit will just drop right out the bottom. So stuff like this is why we are taking the extra time to make sure that we get this thing right. Yes, is there easier ways to do this? Yeah, there absolutely is. Does it give you this level of quality? No. And it's tough when you put this much time into something that most people will hopefully never even see, but that's what we're focused on here, making sure that we're absolute attention to detail. And this one is a big one. Now, obviously we've done tons and tons of on the water testing, and that's great, weather provided. The problem with testing on the water is there's so many variables involved. The weight of the person in the boat, the trim of the boat, how much gear's in the boat, what's the wind like that day, what's the surface conditions like, what's the air temperature like, and then every different battery variable that you put into it. So we've put in some time this week and really focused on getting our test tank fully up to speed. We currently had been running everything with batteries to this point, but we really wanted a way to be able to allow us to just indefinitely be able to test continuous running in a tank, but also be able to do consistent testing for units going out the door. And that's where this comes in. So we built this tank with an articulated rack system that allows us to run the drive units very quickly, to drop them in and run them continuously. Now, if we run it off a battery, the problem is every time you test, as you're testing, the battery voltage continues to drop. So your test is never the same. So as we start testing, that battery voltage drops, so the power level drops, and then it changes all the output variables. So what we needed was not a battery, what we needed was a giant 5 kilowatt power supply. Now this was originally designed and developed to charge backup battery banks for server farms. Now this thing is actually programmable anywhere between 12 volts and 57 volts, which happens to be exactly what we need to be able to test drive units. With this power supply now, it allows us to test these things continuously. We can do in weeks what would take us months or years to do, actually taking a kayak and try to run it on the water, and things you could never do, like get exact, consistent, repeatable tests is what this allows us to do. So now you can see we can rig up the entire setup for a kayak with a kill switch, throttle, and this is really super, super helpful for allowing us to be able to really get the throttle feel dialed in just exactly the way we want it, making sure the kill switch holds just the way we want it, and being able to do very precise testing. Ah, hear that baby purr. 5 kilowatt DC rectifier. Activate the power switch, and away you go. This one so far has been here running the entire day, and it's still running exactly the same voltage. No change in power consumption equals no change in drive performance. So that allows us to continuously run this thing, do the endurance test, but we'll also be able to very quickly shut down, flip up, swap drive, drop new drive in, start up and test the next one. Now, probably for the first 50 to 100, we will have to actually run every single unit just to make sure. And what we're going to be looking for is any variance unit to unit. Once we get through 50 to 100, we'll have a pretty good idea of what the normal range is and very quickly be able to spot if there's anything outside of that and do more testing on that specific unit. Just when you think you got it all figured out, just when you think it's all coming together, another curveball. I don't know if you saw the news this morning, but as of this morning, Friday, we had a whole update video already shot and we were ready to release today, but we're going to do an emergency video because everything just changed yet again. As of this morning, the Supreme Court ruled that all of the tariffs we've been paying for the last year are in fact illegal, which is pretty wild. You know, when I talk to people about tariffs, they really think it's just about increased cost. And that is a factor, but it's definitely not the biggest factor. For us, the biggest factor has been just the supply chain disruptions we've been dealing with. So when we put out our original timelines, it was pretty calm at that point. You know, we knew there was going to be tariffs, but we figured there'd be some structure and it would be increased costs and that would be it. Well, it turns out it's been a lot more than that. This has been a pretty hot trade war going back and forth. And the increased cost is manageable if you know what those costs are. But the problem is that week to week, month to month, we have no way to know if it's going to be 20%, 10%, no tariff, 125% we paid at some points. That's wild. But the damage and the cost that we pay really isn't as bad as the timeline damage, because it creates massive shock loads to the supply chain. Because when the tariff is 125%, nobody's buying anything. And then as soon as it gets pulled back, everybody's buying everything. So what happens is, in China, despite what people might think, they're not magical elves. They're real people just like us, and they work in factories just like this, building things. And when all of a sudden you go from having 10 orders to 1,000 orders overnight, it creates a massive disruption. It creates massive backlogs and delays. And when you're trying to do too much too fast, they end up making mistakes, and you end up with defects in the products. And then you've got to go and get new samples made, and on and on and on and on and on and on. So, is it great that the tariffs have been pulled back and we're going to get parts in without taxes? No, it's not great. I mean, in principle, I support the idea of tariff and normalizing trade. That's great. But the problem is that we're not buying things overseas because we want to anymore. We're buying them because we can't get them in the United States anymore unless we make them ourselves. And that's what we're trying to do. We're building all of our motors in-house. We build this 360 light, we build that in-house. Our throttles are built in-house. Our motors are being built in-house. Our drive units are being assembled in-house. We're doing all of this stuff ourselves. But the problem is, to do that, we've got to be able to bring machines in to be able to build these parts. And guess what? Those tools that we need, those machines that you can't get in the United States, are also subject to the same tariff. So it dramatically increases the cost to be able to bring stuff in-house and to be able to import things. In what would seem to be a simple company, we just want to build kayaks and put motors in them and have people go out and have fun, but turns out there's a lot more that goes into it as far as being able to get all of the parts together to be able to deliver the final product that we are looking to deliver to our customers. And we really appreciate you sticking with us through all of this. I know it's quite the journey, and I can tell you, building a new innovative product in 2026 is a bit wild when you're on the front lines of international trade wars. So it's never a dull moment around here. We are absolutely doing everything we can every single day to get this thing done as quickly as we can, but we are absolutely committed to not cutting any corners. We are going to stay the course. We're going to make sure this thing is done right, and done right the first time. And that is about it for today. We do have another open house tonight we're doing. If you tuned in for that live stream last week, it was a bit of a show. Yeah, trying to bridge doing a live stream while trying to interact with people here in the shop. That was a bit of a stretch, but hey, you know, it was fun. It's always good to have people in the factory actually walking around, getting hands-on with the kayaks. I really always appreciate that, just getting their feedback. It's always fun to talk to them and kind of see where they're coming from, what their experiences are, and how they're going to be putting this thing to use. It's fun to live vicariously through other people sometimes when you're just here grinding it out every day. So anyway, hope you're doing well. Hopefully we'll have more clarity here in the coming days, and we'll be able to get an accurate timeline of what's going on and what's coming next. But I think that's it for now. Thanks. Talk to you soon.